Our Bible word is John 4, verses 28 to 29. The woman then left her water pot, went away into the city, and said to the men, "Come, see a man who told me all things that I ever did. Could this be the Christ?" Before I go into the Bible word itself, first some background on the Samaritans is necessary. Now the Samaritans, they are a people. There are still a few of them that live in Israel today. According to sources, they are less than 1,000 Samaritans still alive today. But they're still there. And back in the time of Jesus, they were, of course, also a group that there was strong animosity between them and the Jews. And this goes back to what events had happened before then. Now, the origin of the Samaritans, that goes to the time when the Assyrians invaded Israel and the northern tribes, etc. If you go to 2 Kings 17, there it speaks of Assyria attacking, invading the northern kingdom of Israel. This is also the time of Isaiah the prophet, where he warns the king of Judah, be careful of the Assyrians, they are coming. But many people of the northern kingdom at this time, they were deported or taken away by the Assyrians. And many also fled south to Judea. But some remained behind. Some lived on the land. And also according to some sources, the Assyrians also settled some people there. Now, for the Jews to the south, now the group that was there, now they became a mixed people. And not people to associate yourself with. But the Samaritans themselves, they said, no, we are Israelites. We are descendants from Abraham. And they also followed typical Jewish customs like circumcision. They observed the Sabbath. They had their own version of the Torah, in other words, those 5 books of Moses. And a distinguishing feature for the Samaritans was that they believed that Mount Gerizim, not Jerusalem, must be the site of the temple. That was probably one of the biggest areas of conflict between Jews and Samaritans. For the Jews, Jerusalem is a place where the temple must be. For the Samaritans said, no, it is Mount Gerizim, because that is what their scriptures said, or their version of the books of Moses. So, this is where they come from, but they claimed that from the time of the Assyrians already, but they claimed that, no, we are descendants also of Abraham. We are Israelites. We follow the Israelite religion. Of course, they had their own version of the books of Moses. And they also believed in a Messiah type figure. They call this type of figure the Taheb or the Taheb. He is the deliverer. He will be a prophet like Moses who will come to deliver the Samaritan people from bondage or whatever it may be. Now what made this even more complicated was at the time of the Hasmonean kingdom. Now, the Hasmonean kingdom refers to the time period of from roughly about 163 BC to about 67 BC or so. That is when the Jewish people in the south had an independent kingdom. This was a time, it started with a Maccabean revolt. If you read the Apocrypha, 1 Maccabees and 2 Maccabees, it speaks there of the Maccabean brothers and their father. They led this resistance against this Greek king and to try to change worship in the temple and for the Jews, etc. And they rebelled against this Greek leader. And the Maccabees led this insurrection, and eventually they established an independent kingdom. And later on, now they were called the Hasmonean kingdom. So these kings are called Hasmoneans. They are the Jewish kings over Judea at this time. But then they started expanding northwards. So from Judea they went north to Samaria. Then eventually later on they went to Galilee. But around the time of John Hyrcanus, he was a Hasmonean king that ruled from 134 to 104 BC. And
he actually went into Samaria and he attacked Samaria, and he also destroyed the temple, or the Samaritan temple on Mount Gerizim. Remember, as I said, for the Samaritans, their temple, or they argued the temple must be on Mount Gerizim, not in Jerusalem. So this John Hyrcanus, he went and attacked. He attacked in 128 BC, and he destroyed the Samaritan temple on Mount Gerizim. John Hyrcanus again went to Samaria. That was in 108 or 107 BC. And he devastated the city of Samaria and another city of Samaria called Shechem. Now, of course, Samaria is the capital of Samaria, the area called Samaria. So, also based on this destruction of the temple and John Hyrcanus going and destroying Samaria, the city itself of the Samaritans, there was this deep-seated animosity from the Samaritans also to Jewish people. Now, of course, this animosity was mutual. Jews didn't like the Samaritans at all because they didn't want to come and worship in Jerusalem. So, now we have Jesus. According to John's Gospel, he had to travel through Samaria. And because normally Jews would travel along the Jordan River, that's more towards the east, to avoid Samaritans. But now Jesus, it says here in John 4, that's our textual unit, by the way, is the whole chapter 4. Is Jesus an encounter where he encounters true worshippers in Samaria, of all places. So Jesus had to go through Samaria. And that journey will normally take about 3 days from Judea all the way north up to Galilee, because Jesus wanted to go to Galilee. And now he comes to a place, of course, which is called Sichar, and close to that there was also Jacob's well. And that Jacob's well, it's also, today they say it's about 30 meters deep. So, of course, wells, goes all the way back to the time of the patriarchs, time of Jacob, and of course that's why it's called Jacob's well also. And there Jesus came, and it was noon, in the middle of the day, the hottest time of the day. So he comes there because obviously he wants to drink some water. And arrives the Samaritan woman. And now the Samaritan woman, she was on the wrong end of the scale in every possible way. To have an encounter with, or this kind of discussion with that Jesus had. And firstly, she's a Samaritan, right? Like I said, there was strong hostility and animosity between Jews and Samaritans. Now, on top of that, she's a woman. The norm of the time was a man, especially a teacher, mustn't speak to a woman in public at all. That was frowned upon. And also, thirdly, she is a sinner. Of course, she had 5 husbands before. Now she's with a man who's not her husband. But yeah, Jesus is having a conversation with her. So Jesus crosses an ethnic boundary, or a socio-ethnic boundary. He crosses the gender boundary because he engages with this woman. And also this moral boundary. This woman is a sinner. But it's quite significant that Jesus has a very significant theological discussion with this woman, the Samaritan woman, who's on the wrong ends of the scale in every possible way. So Jesus asks her, well, give me something to drink. And of course, this woman is surprised and she's saying, why are you a Jew talking to me? Because I'm a Samaritan, so we know the history. Why must we go? Why are you talking to me? But then Jesus speaks to her about him being this water of life. If she drinks of this water, she will never thirst. She asks, well, yes, please give me this water. She misunderstands Jesus, of course. And then she speaks, well, we know that the Savior is coming. And Jesus identifies himself to this woman that he is the Savior. And he says to her, well, I know that you have 5 husbands, or had 5 husbands, and now you're with a man who's not your husband. And then this woman recognizes, you're a prophet. And they also have this discussion of, well, we Samaritans, we worship on this mountain. In other words, Mount Gerizim, which was situated a few kilometers away from there. And then Jesus says, well, the time will come when you will not worship on this mountain or even in Jerusalem. But people will come and worship God in spirit and truth, or in spirit and in truth. So yeah, Jesus, he also transcends another boundary or restriction, that worship or true worship is not restricted to Jerusalem or any geographical area. True worship can take place anywhere. So again, there's another boundary that Jesus crosses, or he destroys it. As he destroys social, ethnic boundaries, gender boundaries, moral boundaries, now he also destroys geographic boundaries. True worship can come from anybody situated at any place. But Jesus does emphasize to the Samaritan woman, salvation does come from the Jews. In other words, through the Jewish lineage, the Jewish salvation history, the line of David, etc. It comes from the Jewish people. But this woman, she's now impressed now with Jesus because he could tell her who she was as a person, a sinner. So of course she goes back to a village in Samaria. And she tells the people there of Jesus, come listen to him. So she invites him. Also at the beginning of the gospel, like we hear there, the disciples of Jesus say, come and see. Come and see who Jesus is. Similar thing is happening here. Come and see who Jesus is. So the Samaritans, they follow this woman. And they actually invite Jesus to their town or to their village. In Judea, Jesus experienced hostility. Then he went now to Galilee or through Samaria, but here they receive him. And they actually ask him, stay with us. And it says he remained with them for 2 days. And Jesus witnessed to them, and now they could hear Jesus for themselves. So of course, let's read from verse 39. And many of the Samaritans of that city believed in him because of the word of the woman who testified. He told me all that I ever did. In other words, she's speaking here of, Jesus told me I'm the sinful woman. So when the Samaritans had come to him, they urged him to stay with them. And he stayed there 2 days. They extend hospitality to Jesus for 2 days. And many more believed because of his own word. Then they said to the woman, now we believe, not because of what you said, for we ourselves have heard him, and we know that this is indeed the Christ, the Savior of the world. How significant. Samaritans accepting a Jew as the Christ, as the Savior of the world. And also how significant is this, that Jesus has this profound discussion with this woman, a Samaritan woman, a complete outsider that you must not mix with at all, yet he engages her. And they have this important discussion on worship and on who Jesus is, etc. So that's Jesus. He reaches out to the Samaritan, or especially a Samaritan woman.